Part 2. Accepting Pain. The second part of the practice is somewhat more advanced, so don't try it unless you feel comfortable with the idea. First, you notice when you experience something that is uncomfortable, painful, or unpleasant. Then you make the wish that other people could be completely free of it and imagine sending them whatever you think would bring relief. For example, if you start to feel depressed, you say to yourself, quote, "Since I'm feeling depressed anyway, may I accept it fully so that other people can be free of it," unquote. Or, quote, "Since I have a toothache anyway, may I accept it completely so that other people may be free of it," unquote. Then send them a sense of relief. Just do it very simply without worrying too much about the logic. For many people, this type of exchange will seem like too much too soon, but I present it anyway because I personally found it to be very empowering. It turns around the revulsion and paranoia that we normally feel about anything unpleasant, the feeling that we are the target, and we use it as a fuel for awakening the heart. Traffic jam Tonglen is a specific instance of this practice. It's about working with all the uncomfortable feelings that you experience when you are stuck in a traffic jam, or perhaps in a very long line at the supermarket. Anger, resentment, restlessness, uptightness, fear of missing an appointment. First, you look around and realize that all the other people stuck in the traffic jam are feeling the same way you do. Then you breathe in fully whatever you are feeling and send out a sense of relaxation and relief, both for yourself and all the other people in the traffic jam. You realize that as human beings, you are all in the same boat. Everyone is putting up barriers and using the discomfort of the traffic jam to feel more and more isolated. So you turn the situation around, and it becomes your link with all the other people stuck in their cars. Suddenly, as you look out the window at them, they all become human beings. This practice is really the essence of the Tonglen approach. Because I have found it very helpful for myself, I like to recommend it to all my students. Even if you choose not to do the formal Tonglen practice, you can always do this on the spot practice. Once you get used to it and practice it regularly, it will make formal Tonglen practice more real and meaningful to you. This is the type of practice that you can do for a real-life situation that you encounter in daily life. Whenever you meet a situation that awakens your compassion or that is painful and difficult for you, you can stop for a moment, breathe in any suffering that you see, and breathe out a sense of relief. It is a simple and direct process. Unlike the formal practice, it does not involve any visualizations or steps. It's a simple and natural exchange. You see suffering, you take it in with the in-breath, you send out relief with the out-breath. For example, you might be in the supermarket and see a mother slapping her little girl. It is painful for you to see, but there is really nothing you can say or do at the moment. First, your reaction might be to turn away out of fear and try and forget it. But in this practice, instead of turning away, you could actually start to do Tonglen for the little girl who is crying, and also for the angry mother who has reached the end of her rope. You can send out a general sense of relaxation and openness, or something specific like a hug or a kind word, or whatever feels right to you at the moment. It's not all that conceptual, it's almost spontaneous. When you contact a painful situation in this way and stay with it, it can open up your heart and become the source of compassion. You can do Tonglen on the spot when strong emotions come up and you don't know what to do with them. For example, you might be having a painful argument with your spouse or your boss at work. They are yelling at you and you don't know how to react. So you can start to breathe in the painful feelings and send out a sense of spaciousness and relaxation with the out-breath for yourself, for the person who is yelling at you, and for all the other people who are dealing with a similar difficult situation. Of course, at some point, you have to react to the person who is yelling at you, but by introducing some space and warmth into the situation, you will probably deal with it more skillfully. You can also do this practice when you feel some blockage to opening and developing compassion. For example, you see a homeless person on the street who is asking you for money and seems to be an alcoholic. In spite of your desire to be compassionate, you can't help but turn away and feel disgust or resentment. At that point, you can start doing Tonglen for yourself and all the other people who want to be open but are basically shut down. You breathe in the feeling of shutdownness, your own and everybody else's. Then you send out a sense of space or relaxation or letting go. When you feel blocked, that's not an obstacle to Tonglen. It's part of the practice. You work with what feels like blockage as the seed of awakening your heart and as a connection with other people. Tonglen on the street. This practice is to walk down the street, perhaps for just 1 or 2 blocks, with the intention of staying as open as possible to whoever you meet. It is a training in being more emotionally honest with yourself and being more emotionally available to others. As you are walking, you could relax your posture and have the feeling that the area of your heart and chest is open. As you pass people, you might even feel a subtle connection between their heart and yours, as if the two of you were linked by an invisible cord. You could think to yourself, quote, "May you be happy," unquote, as you pass them. The main point is to feel a sense of interconnectedness with all the people you meet. If you are feeling somewhat exposed and embarrassed by doing the practice, just acknowledge it and realize that other people are probably feeling the same way. You may notice how people glance briefly at you as they approach, usually at a safe distance, so it isn't obvious, in an automatic gesture of reaching out. Perhaps they are looking for someone who would be friendly to them and say hello, someone they could genuinely connect with. Sound familiar? As you encounter each person, acknowledge your thoughts and emotional reactions towards them. Notice if you feel a sense of attachment, aversion, or indifference towards the people you pass, but don't add any self-judgment on top of it. You might see someone smiling, which could cheer you up on the spot and make you open further, or you might see someone looking depressed, which could spark feelings of tenderness and compassion. Notice when you begin to shut down or open up, but if you do find yourself shutting down, you don't blame yourself. You can simply empathize with all the people who are shutting down in the same way and aspire to be more and more open. Also, if you feel a sense of delight or pleasure on your walk, you could wish to share it with the people you meet. Stepping into others' shoes. This practice of exchanging yourself with others is presented in Shantideva's The Way of the Bodhisattva. It is more of a contemplation, and unlike Tonglen, it isn't synchronized with the in and out breath. It can help you open up to and empathize with the so-called neutral or indifferent people in your life, as well as those you find really difficult. First, imagine the person you are working with as vividly as possible. Be very inquisitive and spend some time really trying to stand in their shoes and see the world as they do. What do they feel? What do they want? What do they fear? Just taking this much interest in a person can go a long way in developing appreciation and concern for them. To take it a step further, think that you are them and that they are you. You are standing in their shoes and you are now looking at yourself as the other person sees you. How do they see you? As just a neutral person? As a potential friend? As an enemy? As an arrogant person? As a warm person? What would they like for you to give to them? A hug, an encouraging word, an open and attentive ear, appreciation for their intelligence and their talents, an apology, forgiveness. By trading places, you discover that what the other person wants is pretty much the same as what you want. In that way, you are equals. Perhaps you also discover that you have never really seen them or heard them before, that you haven't appreciated them or treated them fairly. Based on this new understanding, you may open up to them more the next time you see them.